This episode of Inside the Goblin Universe brought to you by SeatsLink.com, the complete ticket experience. Use promo code GOBLINS with your purchase. SeatsLink.com.
Hello, this is Stevie Strings from the Florida Skunk Ape Project, also a partner at Best Dude Film Productions, and I am a Bigfoot hunter, and you are listening to Inside the Goblin Universe.
Hello again, Goblins, and welcome to another edition of Inside the Goblin Universe. I am but one of your hosts. My name is Ronald Murphy.
I am Sir Bryan Bowden. How are you tonight?
You know what? It's going to be an interesting show tonight, and we need some of the southern flavor that we're going to be bringing you, because we had a very minor snowstorm yesterday and into today, laid down about 3 or 4 inches. So I think the South is calling us. So what better than to have a skunk ape researcher from down Florida way to be our guest tonight?
I agree with you, and I go with the old CDB adage, Charlie Daniels Band, the South's going to do it again. So I don't think we should waste time, because this man is multifaceted. He does virtually everything. Major guitarist. He's a Bigfoot hunter, researcher. He does production work. I mean, he's got it all going on. He's got a ton of good stuff, and I can't wait. We've been trying to get him on, but thank you, Alyssa, up in Ohio, for introducing us to the one and only. Let's welcome Stevie Strings. Stevie, to Inside the Goblin Universe. How are you tonight, sir?
I'm doing fine. How about you, fine gentlemen?
We're very happy to have you here. And again, like Bryan had said, a big thank you to Alyssa Plaqueros for introducing us. She was actually starting to write a book about the unexplained in Ohio, and she seems to have quite a network of paranormal researchers that she knows.
Yes,
and she
does.
pointed us in your direction. So, hey, you know what? We're happy that we met you through her.
Yes, she does. I actually saw some of your photos from the Mothman convention that they had there. And there were some pictures of you too, Mr. Murphy and Mr. Bowden. And I was very impressed. She knows everyone.
She does. She knows absolutely everybody. Yeah. So I think whenever she gets a book up and running, I think that she's going to be a force to reckon with. But enough of that, Mr. Strings. Now, as I've said, you are from Florida, and you investigate the skunk ape. We got to immediately get into that. I mean, we're going to talk a little bit of music later, but we got to talk about the skunk ape, because as I'm wallowing around here with seasonal affective disorder, feeling the wintertime blues, just longing for March the 20th to get here and finally put an end to this wintertime, I need to know about what's going down there in the South. I will tell you, I did go on a skunk ape tour, a skunk ape expedition, not a tour, probably 20-some years ago, whenever I was just a wee lad in my 20s. But it's very uninviting down there. I mean, you have sawgrass, you have alligators, you have things that will kill you.
Yes.
How do you go after these things?
We have it all. We have the snakes, we have the big gators, and most of all, we have the giant pythons down in Everglades.
Oh, yeah.
I am down, they're everywhere.
Whenever I was down there.
just got back from the glades.
Yeah, whenever I was down there, to put things in perspective, it was like you had to be worried about alligators. But now it's like a very bad sci-fi movie, just going all over the place. Now you have to be afraid of like these invasive species that will actually take deer and kill them. And
I'm waiting for
them
to take one of those sea cows. What are those called?
Oh, a manatee.
Oh, yeah. I'm waiting to see that picture of a gigantic python wrapped around a manatee, like half eaten. I mean, it's just going to be insane.
Yeah. Hey, have you ever encountered one of those beasts as you were walking? Not a manatee, but a snake.
Oh, yeah, I run into snakes all the time. Actually, growing up here, I was really into the herpetology thing. I run into the common Florida rattlers, moccasins, coral snakes. But we have a lot of, non-poisonous that are really cool here, the indigos and stuff. But, what I really hate the worst here is the smallest of all creatures, and that's the mosquitoes.
Oh,
I think it's so bad down here that you just inhale them and snort them and everything else when you're out there, especially during the summertime. I love the winters. Like right now, I'm in camo shorts and a t-shirt. I didn't mean to rub that in, but
that's awesome.
It's good watching weather for the Florida area. I'm more down just south of Tampa, where the Mayaca State Forest is, and they've had the Mayaca skunk ape sightings there, and lots of them. So I do most of our research there, because we're a split-up type group all through Florida, because that's the Florida Skunk Ape Project way, just to look at database, some kind of migration patterns, from one end, from the Keys, to the Everglades, all the way up to the Panhandle, and into Georgia and Alabama areas, and Los Angeles, Louisiana, and those areas. So,
you know what? That's a good point. Let me stop you right there, because I am a huge proponent of the migration theory, that these things are moving, but I never really considered it in relation to Florida, because Florida is such a unique habitat. You have the Everglades, so you would think that something would stay put. Now, are you finding in your research something that looks like migratory behavior?
I do. We like I said, we have a scientist, and she's a wildlife biologist, and she does a lot of our swift mud analysis compared to the BFRO sightings and other sightings that we have in our data.
Right.
And I do see a migratory pattern, and actually there's a couple, I would say, habitual sites in Upper Florida, and I'd say Everglades, because it's so massive. The cypress swamp forest there is probably, second largest, first largest in the country. So it's a lot of hiding, and it's nice and warm, and I believe the migratory pattern, they come from north during winter seasons, and we see them heading down this way south, and then it kind of somewhat reverses. But we seem to see a lot of habitual activity near the Panhandle, near the Georgia area. Because, yes, if you, we have a thermal from our team, from Stacy Brown Jr. and Sr., which depicts a Sasquatch and thermal crossing our paths, and was recorded, and this actual visual thermal was torn apart by Cliff Berkman from Finding Bigfoot, and some others, and they spent almost a week here, and Flair actually jumped in on it too, and they believe, give or take, this thing was like 8 foot or feet, give or take a couple inches, and about close to 5 feet wide, with almost nearly a 7-foot stride. I mean, it's on one of the Finding Bigfoot episodes.
Yeah, I actually got to see let me just stop you there. I got to see the FLIR images, of course, from the Finding Bigfoot episode, and it was so incredibly detailed that you could actually see the fingers spread on the one hand of whatever was being captured on the FLIR. But to put it into perspective, in comparison to Bobo, because of course they like to do these comparisons, whatever was captured on that FLIR completely dwarfed Bobo, even the hand size. So we're talking about something that was captured in the woods in Florida that had a hand much larger than a professional basketball player's hand.
Right. Actually, yes, we get a lot of people talking about that hand size and the color of the image. I know most people that investigate with flares or thermals, some use the ghost type patterns with the multicolors, kind of rainbowish. And then some others do the white hot, where the heat is white, but we like to use the black as black hot. It's easier to see snakes and gators on trails, because I think it gives it a better defined image. That's why it was great to capture that. But not to say that the only thing would be really nice that we don't have. I don't know if you know some of our work. We have some really fine audio. We have very nice tracks. I posted a nice picture today of a track that we found, actually a trackway, and we're just lacking a nice night vision, which you don't normally see very often, night vision. People get thermals. There's also another brown thermal from another researcher in California that's got an image out there, and we're often confused with him. John Brown, I believe his name is.
Yep. I find when we do investigations, we do play around with the rainbow portion of the FLIR, but you're 100% correct that if you get that black and white, there's more details that come out through that, where you see the hot spots, but you also see the actual image, the subject matter better than if you use any of the other settings. It's easier on the eyes, and you can definitely pick out more detail in those images, which is key. And I've been, while we've been talking with you, I'm trying to collect some of these images so we can throw it up when we do the video end of this broadcast. Because I want to show some of the people out there and our listeners what we're talking about. This is a really great evidence, and you guys should. Amazing stuff that's been caught by you guys.
Thank you. Well, we work hard at it, and like I said, I know there was people that noticed the trees weren't predominantly in heat, being that the black was hot, and you definitely see the Sasquatch, but it had rained 3 days, so the trees were pretty cooled down. So I know that's been brought up before.
You're always going to get those people, though. You always get those people that just want to pick you apart. And as an investigator myself, and I know Ron is an investigator, we're not trying to sell you anything. This is what we caught. We were there, Let them pick you apart. You're there. You got truth behind you, and I think that's all you need. Also, it's good. There's no what was it, PD Barnum? There's no bad PR, so people are going to come out and see it.
Exactly.
But
it's amazing. I like to hope that as you and I and Mr. Murphy as researchers would all be seeking the general truth, and none of this. He said, she said, or blah blah blah. You do have the known hoaxers and stuff, and of course everybody wants to say everything's a hoax. And what's the irony of that? There's a lot of researching going on that everything's a Bigfoot. From your pareidoias to shadows to logs, and say so. But you know what? It's good. I firmly believe, though, it's really going to just take one on the slab.
Unfortunately, I agree, but I don't want to see it, though.
Yeah, unfortunately. Being in the film business, look at Harry and the Hendersons. If somebody was out there with that kind of costume, please. But and now with CGI and films and stuff, golly, you could probably dart one and do an endoscopy and cut it open right there, and somebody say, CGI, they're fake.
Well,
it's probably going to stay,
Yeah, they did it
it's going to take something on a slab.
Yeah, about 16 or 17 years ago, they did something with pathologist Cyril Wecht from down here in Pittsburgh that was involved in the Kennedy assassination, the conspiracy theories behind that. And if you can remember, he was agreeing to the Roswell black and white video that came out that he thought that they were indeed doing an autopsy on a recovered alien, and then of course that came out later to be shown a hoax. But I think what you're getting at about the idea of having one come in on a slab to prove it that it's a genuine species, that's the way that science unfortunately works. When people talk about you're out there, you're looking for something and everything. I think that Bigfoot investigators are the most, or people are some of the most daunted and conservative people out there in regards to maintaining the validity of a wild animal by not killing it. But it's science that wants us to kill it, And whenever you look at the Audubon expeditions or any of these other things, they weren't out there drawing pretty pictures of these animals. They were killing them. And almost any expedition you look at, there's always these tracks within the writings about the number of animals they killed. That's the way science works. This is not Bigfoot investigators working this way. This is science saying that this is the kind of proof that we need.
Exactly. And how it can be brought to slab, who knows? I personally think it's going to be some 90-year-old woman who's going to actually hit it and run it over and call BFRO. And that's about what it's going to be.
Down in
because,
Florida.
You hear about so many road. Yeah, down in Florida, there's lots of old people and their parents.
Yep.
And you got that, old people and their parents. But
I see it now, a 67 Fleetwood Brougham, made from like diesel, nailing one of these things. It flips over, lands in the back seat, and like, what do we do now? Let's call somebody.
Right, let's Google Bigfoot, and it's going to be BFRO, and they're going to get the claim to it. And also is where you get it to. I'm sure the government does know about these things. So if you don't get it on your own property, I'm sure you'll get a visit by MIB or something of that nature.
Oh, yeah.
And then it never. I can almost understand.
In your research and what you're doing right now for the Florida Skunk Ape Project, what have you? We were discussing a little bit, and you mentioned something about a Class A sighting or experience. Can you go a little bit deeper into that, like what took place?
Yes, I can.
Sure, that'd be awesome.
Okay. Like I said, I do the. We have teams in the Green Swamp, up in Apalachicola area, Glades. So I mainly focus, since I live where I live, with the Mayaca State Forest there in the state park. And back in 2013, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the YouTube video, but it was put out by a gentleman. I think he goes under the name, if you were to Google YouTube, or if you're in there, it's Mo Power, Power, MOPOWER. And there's a sighting which is actually pretty cool because it's multiple witnesses, and the multiple witnesses were about 9 or 10. And there's actually, if you watch the video, there's it's a touristy type of situation, so you get all kinds of people. And there was a German lady there with a telephoto lens, really nice camera. Well, they were cruising through the park. It's like a 7-mile road that goes through the park, that goes to the pavilions, et cetera, et cetera. But there's just like 40 miles of trails all away from all that. But as they were going in near the Mayaca River, some people started noticing what they thought were monkeys, some kind of big monkeys chasing some deer. The lady with the telephoto lens was saying that there was 2 monkeys, or it was 2 monkeys, but actually it was just one. As the crowd grew, this young man and his son was cruising through, and they just went right out there, and they snapped pictures. If you watch the video, it's really hard to see from what he took, but you have to really pay attention and look for it. You can see it out in that grass, and you see it bobbing, but that grass out there is, like you were saying, it's anywhere from 5 to 6 feet tall, and this thing was just jumping it like it was like Lou Alcindor back in the day in NBA, just cruising through it, and so this kid, his son, went out there with his iPhone, and of course he's going to get nothing but blurry shots, but there was very interesting set of pictures. Once you have a phone and you see something, you're not thinking about focus and stuff, and I do understand about the blob squatch and the blur squatch. I'm guilty of that. You go out and you see something really cool, bear or something, you get the camera and just that little bit of vibration, you're going to get a blurred picture. Well, anyways, with that said, those pictures is what I went to go check out in the scene, and then that's how I met Stacy Brown, who was there to investigate, and he found like pigs with their heads twisted off. I think there was like 5 of them, trackway, and so some really cool stuff. So he put out an invitation for anybody researches Bigfoot to come and join him, and they were going to try to find something other than what he found, like try to find the real deal. So that's how I came in, and lo and behold, I ran into some of the famous Florida ones, Tim Fasano. I don't know if you're familiar with him. Bill Brock. He was on Hunting Caves on the Destination America TV show.
Yeah, Monsters Underground.
Monsters
Underground. That's the one on Destination America. And that's how I met him. And Dave Lauer, who was also a Stacy Brown. They won the Spike TV $10 million bounty show on Spike TV with Dean Cain. And they had this group together, and I wanted to join the group. And I had told them how long I had been into, the skunk ape, since Patterson Gimmerloon thing. And he said, well, you want to hang out 4 days, you're going to find an unusual way how we do it. And you're more than welcome. And so Bill Brock jumped on board too with them, and he split all these teams, but I was lucky to go with him, Bill, and three other of his team. Well, I think it was the second night we were there. We went out to a stream creek. We like to follow waterways. No matter what you think about Bigfoot, if he doesn't eat, he's got to drink. Like, I think every animal's got to drink, and he's got to drink often. So we followed the waterways, and it was really late. It was a waning moon, and lo and behold, we hear all this stuff crunching out in the woods. We started getting thermal. It's too thick. We started doing some parabolic, and we hear grunting and stuff, and it sounded like pigs. And lo and behold, here comes the pigs. They come running out, coming towards us. We, mamas and baby pigs are a very dangerous situation here in Florida. Yep. They chased us, didn't chase us, but went around us and ran towards the lake like they're going to drown themselves. It was pretty amazing. I was like, wow, they just ran past us. Putting on the parabolics, started hearing other stuff back there. So we do what is called a military hook maneuver, which is we'll split in 2 pairs, and we'll go at 50 yards and apart, and Stacy will be at the very end, and we'll just kind of hook it into an area. We knew that there was a cleared out area at the other side. So we went in, and I went with Bill Brock, and he did the DVR. Well, the DVR was old school. This is 2013, so you actually had a battery pack, bag, and a laptop, old DVD player that's recording. And we're in there, and we're all in position. I had parabolic. The other 2 guys 50 yards up and over to our right had handheld flares. And Stacy's at the very end with also his flare. We noticed a hot reading on this tree, and I was with Bill Brock, and I was kind of new with a lot of the newer gadgets and stuff. I'm kind of old school. I have Indian in my family, so I just go with the tracking type things, but I noticed this thing, and I tell Bill, I said, wow, that's a really large head. And it's next to I noticed one tree. It was a palm tree that was broken, and it was giving off some heat. And I said, oh, this big head-looking thing could be a raccoon. So it's right next to the tea trees. And Bill tells me he's been doing this a lot longer than I had. He said, no, that's just one tree. And as I looked again, I can notice it was swaying, and then around the broken tree, I could see the head. And it kept picking and looking and peeking, doing the notorious tree peeking. This was like a waning moon and very, very, very mossy hammock type with palmettos and everything. So you couldn't see much more than, your hand in front of your face. And I just told Bill, I said, well, you know what, dude? I'm just going to go up there and just see what the hell it is. And if anything, wraps me against a tree, check my fingernails and my teeth, because I will get some DNA. And while I'm walking to this, I've been looking for a Bigfoot since I was a kid. Never thinking anything other than, wow, what if this is a poacher? And, I'm in a lot of trouble. Poachers don't like to be found. Don't like to go to jail. So as I approached this tree, I estimate I was maybe 5 feet. And then that's when all hell broke loose. I hear this, and a stomping through the ground that would make you bones jump out of your skin. Just going through these palmettos. I don't know if you know Florida or Google it, but we have palmettos that are just everywhere. And this thing was like OJ on the run, and when he used to run with football, not from the cops. This thing was
without the white Bronco. Without the white Bronco.
Without the white, exactly. This thing was clearing these woods. I was amazed. I seen the other two investigators with the hand flare. I know he was snapping pictures. And then I hear Stacy running after this thing just shortly. And the next thing I know, he's like, it just left him. It just left him in the dark. And I hear him just screaming at us like, lights on, because we do everything in the dark.
Right.
And that's the way we like to do it. And he's like, what happened? What's going on? What are we looking at? He thought it was us. He's screaming greenhorns. And I'm like, that means rookies. And I said, don't worry, we got it on film. He comes back, and the other two investigators that were 50 yards, which is nice because it chased it towards them, which we're trying to do,
right.
Which made it go towards Stacy, which was kind of a pattern that kind of somewhat was worked. But as we're looking at the flare that he snapped with, are you familiar with the handheld flares?
Oh, yeah.
You can snap pictures, but you don't get video on some of those. Like mine, I don't. This thing was so close, all you could see, he was using white hot. It was just a white blur. I mean, you could actually see the fur, but it was just so close to him that there was no image but white, a solid white screen.
Knowing those flares, that's really close.
That's very close, because they thought it was us running in front of them, and everybody was very confused. And then I was told, I said, don't worry, I think we got some of the best thermal imaging that was ever recorded, better than your father's, and he was very wanting to see this. But that was not recorded. Was it technical error? Was it operator error? I don't know. That's a story for Bill Brock to have on the show. And
well,
but
it's very interesting you said that, because something that I've experienced with my experiences with this creature is we were in pitch black as well. We had the encounter. This thing did a bluff charge. It grunted 3 times. It whooped 3 times. Then it got pissed off and threw a rock. We had everything. We had full spectrum. We had night vision. We had infrared. We had FLIR. You name it. Nothing was coming up. And some of the equipment started to fail. And one of the theories out there is that this creature somehow manipulates it, which I was thinking it was hogwash before I had my experience. So there may be something to this creature setting out even infrasound as somehow affecting something, waves or something to that effect, where you're recording but you're not getting anything.
Right, I've had evidence show up before on even high 8, but that's still a film. But I've never had anything jump out at me on digital before.
Wow, that's very interesting. I myself have recently seen some really odd things that I thought I never related to Bigfoot, and actually some of our other team members is these lights. They're, I wouldn't say so much as an orb, more like something, if you're familiar with the brown lights in North Carolina,
right.
Something like that. But we have seen those, and it always seems like there's some kind of Bigfoot activity after that, or just before it. And so you're right. And light is energy, and energy draws from other energy. So, I mean, it doesn't take too much of a scientist to see that. But I see your point about things going dead, because it's happened to us too.
Well, it's interesting.
And it's really strange it's happened to me.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. It's kind of interesting. We had Stan Gordon on, right, Ron? And he was referring to a story where there was a Bigfoot. These people lived off the grid in the cabins, and she thought it was the coyotes or something, the wolves, trying to harass her on the door. She opens the door. I'm summing this up. And standing like no more than 2 feet in front of her is a Bigfoot. And she goes and shoots. There's a big white light. It disappears. So, I mean, there's other light-related interesting stories that revolving around Bigfoot that makes you want to question now whether this thing is flesh and blood, or it has an ability to camouflage itself somehow.
Yeah, what do you say about that? That's an interesting topic. I assume that you are a flesh and blood camp guy, but do you think that there's any credence to the fact that this thing could be interdimensional?
I like to think not. I like to think in logical, but I do a lot of stories, and I recently talked to this woman in the Gothi Forest. A lot of BFRO sightings and others that are there, and that's what all she talks about is, they show up through the lights. And I go, like orbs? She goes, no, it's more like a flashlight coming out of the ground. And I just listened, and she says, but I got pictures, and that's when I'm really interested.
Yeah.
And some of these pictures that she showed me, I mean, there's a pareidolia, but then there's, you have to really look and say, wow, I see appendages, and, but some of these pictures, they had like lights around waist high, like a image of I don't know how, like almost like a solar flare type image with, stringing stuff. And it was just really interesting because these pictures were also blurred, but, you can definitely make out appendages and stuff. And I was pretty in awe, kind of scratching my head in other parts of the body, but I was like, I surely don't understand, but then again, not everything's understandable. But I like to think of the flesh and blood thing. Being of some Indian background, they talk about it as a spiritual thing, the same
right
as a lot of people see it.
Now, do the tribes down in Florida feel the same way as well, too, as the tribes of the Pacific Northwest and the Plains Indians? Do they have the same belief that this creature is a spiritual animal, it is a missing link, it is a type of human? What is their feelings regarding this?
Oh, very high spiritual link. Actually, they believe, a lot of Seminoles believe it's another tribe.
Really?
Being?
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that before. Right? Yeah, I've heard that before. That it was another tribe that just simply parted ways with the more human tribes.
Would that be going with a legend, like transformation, like almost like a shaman would transform into something, so that they sought a different path?
Right. Exactly, and they, I'm not saying shape-shifting or anything, but that's also brought up. But they think it's got, it has a language of itself. It's got, lingual communications of types of chattering. But they firmly believe it's there. Flesh and blood, though. I know lots of the natives in the Everglades, they tell their children, they can't go out after dark in certain areas, not to go out during menstruation. The women, they watch their wives, at night to the cars or homes or stores or whatever. I mean, they really, everyone has a Bigfoot story down there in the Seminoles. Some don't, some do. I mean, a lot do. I mean, they really just like it's nothing. They want to talk about something else. Oh yeah, he lives out there.
It's very interesting the precautions that they all take. If they're taking these precautions This is we had a storyteller on who the old way of telling transforming information from one to the next and transferring it that way. This is something to be looked into. If they know that women have a problem, don't go out when you're menstruating, or the children. This goes back in David Paulides, who talks about missing 411, about these people walking in national forests, 7 in a row, walking up a path. The next thing you know, some guy's gone. There's nowhere. Where could they go? So, it's pretty interesting.
Oh, exactly. And these are passed on through generations too. So it's just not like a story within 50 years. Oh, my grandfather's grandfather told us this, or was handing down these stories. And actually, I talked to an Indian, a local down by, believe it or not, by Dave Shealy's Skunk Ape headquarters. And he was sitting outside, and I went there just to see if to do an interview with Shealy, and he wasn't there. And this old Indian was sitting out there, and I just, kind of mosey over and wanted to talk to him. And he noticed some of my ink and noticed some of my jewelry, and then I started bringing up Bigfoot, and he goes, "Oh yeah," he said, my fathers and all of them used to tell me that for years, and I just laughed and stuff. I go, "Oh, so you telling me you saw one?" And he's like, "Oh, not until he was like 28." And he used to tell me the story that he was out and frogging and gigging in the cypress swamps on the reservation lands, and he had the truck with the floodlights on the top, and he was getting ready to leave, and he turned them on, and there it was in the tree line. Said probably about 15 to 20 yards, and it was holding on to a branch, and it was just shaking on it, and he said he stood there for like 15 minutes, and it left back in the tree line. And then he said he hadn't seen one since, and then he said he saw one maybe months earlier, maybe 2 months earlier. And I was going, "Well, where did you see that?" And then he points right over at 41, right in front of the Shealy Skunk Ape headquarters there. He said he crossed the street, and he said that's the entrance to the reservations, or the trails that lead to the reservation lands of the Seminoles, which a lot are not allowed to go unless you're a native local.
Right.
But it was very interesting that he didn't believe in it until he actually, he was more of the modern Native American that had actually an iPod or something. But he said it happened to him when he was like 28. So
that'll wake you up.
Pretty cool story. Yeah.
That kind of gets you, like, it gives you a check. That's a real, like, gut check right there. It's like, did I just see that? I heard about it for years, but now I actually saw it. But if it's all right with you, Ronald, we can switch a little bit of gears here, because Stevie has a company that he works with, and they do production, and they do video production, and it's Best Dudes Production, and they have a new movie out. I just caught it. Stevie mentioned it to me, and I'm going to actually write up a review. It's fantastic. It's available on Amazon.com, and it's called Roswell 70 Years Later. How did you...
Yeah, Bryan was gushing about this. I've not had time to watch it yet. As soon as we get off here, I am going to be able to watch a bit of it. But he has been beside himself talking about this. And I will tell you this, to you, Stevie, and to the listeners, Bryan does his research before anybody comes on, and he is up to date on all the videos that are put out there, whether they're documentaries or whether they're they're fantasies or docudramas, what have you. So whenever he gives you an accolade, my friend, take that to heart. So the guy's pretty rough. He's like Siskel and Ebert.
Yeah, I'm combined, actually. I'm about his.
That's right.
Yeah, about both of them. No, and I thank you for that, Ron. And it's the truth, because there's been some movies out recently about Roswell and other areas that had UFOs and what have you. And I'll tell you, we're in 2018, 2017, and they're using video footage from like when VCRs just came out in the like early 80s. I mean, it's like you got all this technology, and there's some better stock out there. You guys put together a pretty nice piece of film here. It was very interesting. It goes by very quick. It's only 45 minutes runtime, But I'll write a better review for you later. I'll throw it up on our site and as well with a link. But you did a fantastic job. Where did this come about? Who came up with the idea of saying, "Hey, let's do something about Roswell"? Because I personally think it's been beaten to death. But you threw some other ideas in there, like it makes you want to think like things have changed or been misconstrued.
Right. Well, first of all, thanks for the kind words and everything, but we did work really hard on this. I am partners in the Best Dude and with Stacy Brown, and I'm also the first AD, and that's first assistant director for those who don't know what that is. But we got this together because we had done some other fringe media type of things, just odd stories and stuff, paranormal and ghosts. And because, you have the equipment, and people ask you, hey, you want to go look for a ghost or some of that stuff? And sure, we'll jump on board, it's Friday night, whatever. So somebody had brought something up about UFOs, and we already had the film production started. Right. And we did a film on Bigfoot called Creatures, which is in post-production. It's almost done. We don't know what we're going to do with it. We're thinking about reshooting it. But meanwhile, somebody had come up and was talking to UFOs and stuff. And then Roswell was brought up. Of course, it is the story of stories with UFOs.
Yep.
So we just had an idea. We're not giving away too much on the film. Why don't we just go see what's going on? It's just the 70th year anniversary. And let's just see what's really going on when we can find out and what's new. And so without giving it the movie away, we had Nick Redfern, author of over, holy golly, 60 books, I believe, from everything Bigfoot to UFO, alien conspiracies. He does it all, and he adds a really interesting twist to this as Bill Brock is on it.
Yep.
It's interesting that you had brought up the autopsy. I will give this a little bit of this away. That is brought up also, and who and what happened with that film and what that was all about. For some that don't know, I mean, there are some people that say, "Oh, we already know that," or that. We didn't put it out for we put it out for everybody to watch, and that's the way we wanted to do it.
You did a fantastic job with it, and what was fantastic was you didn't beat the horse to death. You didn't try to reinvent the wheel, but you did come up with some other alternative ideas out there. And I mean, Ron studies a lot of this stuff because he lives near Chestnut Ridge, and if we had a tremendous amount of time, we can go into that detail right there. But it was just presented very well. It actually made you think a little bit like, let me look at it at a different angle. And I love that stuff. I love thinking outside the box because that's how you discover new theories or get some good answers. So I think you guys did a great job. And you can't go wrong. And I don't want to belittle anybody, but I mean, to rent the movie is $3.99 and it's worth it. And you can buy it for $10. It's even, because you may want to go revisit this again. But as far as cinematography is concerned, direction, dialogue, you have some really great. Nick Redfern's in there. Bill Brock makes an appearance. I mean, it's just fantastic. It's very much worth taking a look because I think it's one of the few things out there that offers you some alternative questions to ask regarding Roswell. I don't need to see Stanton Friedman anymore. I've seen his double chin enough. I don't need that guy anymore. I'm sorry to say it, Ron. I'm going to be vicious here. I am so sick and tired of it. If you don't know that Roswell took place, then you're an idiot or you're just been under a rock.
And the thing that I can't understand is he is still, doing conferences on the same bandwagon that he's been doing for the last 20 years. I'm finding it very hard to believe that he has this kind of staying power. I'm not sure why he just doesn't jump back onto the cover of Count Chocula cereal and stay there.
That or every time I see Stanton Friedman, I gotta say it reminds me of the original Godzilla film with Raymond Burr, and all his line was throughout the whole damn movie is he's looking for something. Yeah, he's looking for Cocoa Puffs.
He reminds me of Simon Barr's Sinister.
Yes. That's absolutely
the eyebrows. It must be the eyebrows.
Stanton, you're welcome on the program, or you can defend yourself.
That's right. Get in touch with Bryan. Inside the Goblin Universe.
Yes, please do. I would love to talk to Stanton.
Except we won't talk to him about. We won't talk about Roswell, though.
No, I think we should talk about something else.
He was briefly brought up. He was briefly brought up in the film. If you listen to Beth, who was the UFO Museum,
right,
one of the curators and runs the library. Their library is extensive. I mean, I recommend it if you're passing through Roswell just to go into that museum. It's a must-see, that the library, if anything. If you're really a ufologist or really into that, it's there. So you can spend a lot of time in there. But she gives her aspect, and that's what we tried to do. We had the MUFON, Mr. Fagel, who did just hundreds and thousands of reports, and we tried to get, with Nick referring, everybody's what you really think at the end. I mean,
right.
Beth gives you the story from beginning to end, but she puts her own spin, which she's never has done before, what she thinks. And she's very, very smart, very smart. I really enjoyed filming her. But, and also the mayor. I mean, he was great. He was fantastic. He really welcomed us, and he, not to give it away at the very ending, but he has quite the credentials.
Yes.
Before he was the mayor.
And I'm not going to give it away, but watch the movie and watch through the credits. You gotta watch through the credits. Most people see
through the credits. It's very short credits. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if Ron's children do this. My oldest watches till the very end of the movie because there's so much you miss in there. It's classic examples, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, but that's besides the point. But you got to watch this. One of the cool things that I loved about this movie, and I don't think I'm giving anything away, but you guys went out there, you used a lot of drone footage and you used drone work, which was beautiful. But when they go out to the actual supposed crash site, and they have the license, they have all their permissions, the approvals. They flip this drone thing on to go, start flying, and they automatically get a message. This is a no-fly zone. Now, just picture this: stand in the middle of the desert, or the New Mexico desert, and for like miles upon miles, there's nothing. There is nothing. It's barren. Why is there no fly zone there still?
Right.
It's very interesting.
Something they don't want to have you see from above.
Yeah, I'm thinking there's something big going on there. I mean, I think it's Google Earth time, but they'll black that out. But I just wanted to bring that up. I didn't mean to take you off, and it's actually a good time because we're closing in at about 5 to 6 minutes left in our show tonight.
We have to go right to the music. We promised the Goblins that we were going to talk music, so we cannot leave them hanging. So I'll tell you what, for the last 4 minutes. Yeah, last 4 minutes, let's go music.
Yes.
Let's do it.
How's the band? How's it going? How's it? Oh, and you are. How's it going with the band?
It's actually going fairly well. I have a studio here, and with the hurricane that just passed through, Irma, it pretty much destroyed my studio, but warehouse that I've had for over 30 plus years. And we actually recorded our self-titled album, Stacy Brown and the Big Bad Wolf, which is basically Stacy Brown and I am the wolf. I lay the bass tracks, do the keyboards, all the leads. I write the leads and do the harmonies and stuff like that. And that too album is available. We were voted DRR top in the top 5 this year on DRR digital radio. Yes, we worked hard at that as we do our films, and we've gotten to open and play with some really cool people. Psycho Beard, Tantric, Smile Empty Soul, Non-Point. There's some pretty cool stuff.
And
But me, living here in Sarasota, I play a lot around here. With Dickie Betts lives here. A lot of the old Allman Brother alumni live here. Of course, AC/DC Bryan Johnson lives here.
Ah, nice.
He just lives down the road a little bit. Yes, and the guy from Firehouse. It just goes on and on. Who's Paul Simon's mom lives here, so you'll see him around here. You'll see people like Steven Tyler's mom lives here. You'll see him here every once in a while. It's just an array of musicians in Sarasota.
That's
pretty cool.
Pretty interesting. I didn't know Sarasota was that much of like a music capital. Normally, when you think down south, the first place you're hitting is Nashville, or Memphis.
Exactly.
But Sarasota is looking like it's a rocking place. We got to go down there, Ron, and start a Goblin Universe band.
I don't play an instrument, nor can I sing, but I will go down there with you.
But you write, and you can write lyrics, so it's fine. It works.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
And in the technical, they always need the technical aspect. People behind the music,
yes,
I adore. They're just a part of the band. I mean, you can't have a band without a great sound man and stuff like that.
You don't have a good sound man, you're dead.
You're dead. It never piss one off if you come through and you have an online there. I mean, a back line, and you got to depend on somebody's sound man in the club. Do not piss them off.
But it's great music, and I was listening to it before we started the show. It's fantastic, and we're gonna put some, if it's all right with you guys and Stacy Brown and the Big Bad Wolves, we're gonna be starting the show and ending the show with some of your music, and then we're gonna throw some of those links to anything you've released, because it's good. This is rock and roll. This is the way it should be, not the stuff that they were patting themselves on the back the other night about.
Southern fried rock and roll, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the Goblins will want to be buying this stuff, so what's the best way to do that?
You can go to Facebook, which is the god of social media.
Yes.
Or goddess, for all you women out there. And you could find us at Stacy Brown in the Big Bad Wolves. You can find us at Best Dude Film Productions, or you can personally find me as Stevie Strings. I'm the one with the clown face makeup. I don't know if you've seen our videos, but I'm the scary guy, and people ask me where the clown stuff came from. And I'm also an independent actor, and I did a film with Bill Moseley. He was from the Rob Zombie films,
right?
Rejects,
yep.
And The House of Thousand Corpses. He played Otis, so I was in a film with him, and I was a cannibal clown, and so that's where that came, and now I play in that makeup attire. And so, but you can personally friend me at Stevie Strings too, and I'll give you all the links. And there is also my website, which is Stewee's Playhouse, STEEWEE Playhouse.com, and that's. And don't say Pee-wee, because actually Pee-wee Herman lives here in Sarasota too. He was born here. I mean, he went to high school here and everything.
That's awesome.
I was going to tell you a joke, but I don't want to on Pee-wee Herman.
Sorry, Ed.
But anyways, you can do that, and you'll find, like I said, Stacy Brown, the Big Bad Wolves is for the music part, and Best Dude Film Productions, and you can personally Facebook us too, Stacy Brown Jr. or Stevie Strings.
Cool, and
you'll find a lot of interest.
If someone has a sighting, that's definitely get in touch with these guys, because they're gonna, especially if you're down south, if you're southbound, you want to definitely give them hit them up and contact them, and they're gonna get out there and they're gonna do some really good investigative work.
Really good stuff. Are you gonna be at any conference in 2018? Is there any place where people can come see you?
Yes, we're hoping to premiere we're working on a new film. This will be our fourth film out, and it's going to be called the Florida Skunk Ape Lives. And it's going to be a documentary on Florida Skunk Ape, from one tip state to the other. And we're going to try to premiere that at the Texas conference in April, mid-April, and it should be something else. So we're working really hard to get that done.
We got to get we're going to be trying to do a lot of conferences this year, Ron.
Oh, I know. Well, April though, that's right around the corner. That probably will not happen this year. But keep us in mind for 2019 because you will be our link for any kind of the Southern conferences going on.
Right, and Stacy, we're hoping to do the international Bigfoot one up in, I believe, Oregon. Don't.
I think that's in Washington, I think.
Washington.
Yeah.
I get Mr. Russell Cord, who's actually an executive producer on the film and does the narration. He's the one that puts that one together. He's a Bob Gimlin. I think he's close ties with him. Actually, he's doing a film on Bob Gimlin. So, so we're going to try to do that one, too, that conference. Well, I have never done that one. And we actually put on the Florida Skunk Ape Conference 2 years ago. We'd like to put on another one, but I don't know about this year, but we will get that together.
You got to have one for 2019. You have to have a Florida Skunk Ape Conference in 2019.
Right, you run the films there, and you know sometimes it's good to skip a year for conferences and reunions and that type of stuff. So it's going to work out. But if we get to Texas, I'm going to make it a mission that Ron and I both get the 96-ounce steak, and we try to eat that sucker. And let's go Bigfoot on that thing.
I might come and join you.
You're more than welcome. Then we'll get on stage and we'll do a little, rawhide and whatever. Do a little Blues Brothers up there.
I am too. Also, I am also a professional eater. I can definitely devour.
Well, as many people have seen from my photos, I don't diet. So I've made that my New Year's resolution to drink and smoke and do whatever I got to do. But unfortunately for this New Year's revolution, unfortunately we did run out of a lot of time, and we're gonna go. We've got about 2 minutes left. I do want to thank you for coming on the show. I'm sorry it took so long to get you on here with all the mayhem, but definitely come back when you're doing the Skunk Ape premiere, and we definitely want to have you back on and get see if Stacy Brown wants to jump on with you or whatever. That'd be great.
Oh, thank you, gentlemen, and it was fine, and everybody is listening to In the Goblin Universe.
That's right. Inside the Goblin Universe. So we need that music to go along there as well, too. So we'll actually know that they've entered it.
We could use that, definitely. But it's that magic moment. I'm going to turn to Dr. Murphy, Professor Dr. Ronald Murphy.
Yes. It was a blast to have you on here, my friend. It flew by. The hour flew by. We probably have another hour and a half, 2 hours to talk about things. But for now, until next time, please, come on back. You are now a family member of Inside the Goblin Universe. You have the key. We also leave one under the welcome mat just in case you forget that.
Yes.
So, come on in, grab yourself a beer, and we'll talk again. But, hey, we'll sign us out. To all the goblins out there, my name is Ronald Murphy.
I am Bryan Bowden.
And we'll see you next time inside the Goblin Universe.